Hi everyone, this is Jessica Aldridge from Athens Services, your waste hauling company. We are a family-owned and operated company here in Southern California. We're actually the largest waste hauling company in LA County. We are picking up your recycling, your organics, those things that can be composted, and your landfill items, and we are doing our best to try to get the most value and resource out of those items. I oversee their sustainability and zero waste program development, and today we are going to talk about recycling. What actually gets recycled and composted, all of those putrescible plant matter, food stuff at your place of business, and then also, sadly, those things that are definitely destined to go to the landfill. Here's the kicker too. I'm going to share with you some tidbits, some items that you might think are truly recyclable, and maybe they kind of are, but maybe right now they're not being recycled, or there's certain elements to them that make it so they can't get recycled. And hope you stick around. We are going to start with recycling. All this stuff here is acceptable in our container, in Athens Services containers. We are just one hauler of many waste haulers out there. So what we're able to accept might be different than what maybe another city might accept or another waste hauler. But this is what we accept in our containers at Athens Services. So we're going to go through some of these items. Let's start with paper. Paper, white ledger, what you write on, your printing paper, mixed paper, magazines, things like that. We can collect that material. Now we don't want them to have any food on them or any liquids, and that's actually a great thing to know. With any type of recyclables, always clean and empty. Does it need to be spotless? Well, it'd be nice. It doesn't have to be, but it definitely needs to be empty. No liquids whatsoever. But there's some issues also with paper, going back to paper. Paper, when it has a lot of plastic on it, so this here is a box for an electronic, and this is paper, obviously, but it's got this shiny on it, it's got shiny on the outside. When you rip it, you can see that there's this plastic coating. The thicker the plastic coating, the less it might get recycled. So just keep that in mind. There's also other types of paper product like toilet paper rolls and egg cartons that are fantastic because they're closing that recycling loop. They're able to use a lot of recycled paper content within their container, but what they are not is cardboard. Some people actually think that they are cardboard. They would say this is cardboard, but it's truly not. Now, we've got a couple issues here. One, this has got this plastic on it. This is not paper. This would need to actually come off. The other issue is when you have a type of paper that has been used multiple times and closing that loop, fantastic. The problem is it lessens the life eventually, and eventually it does have to go to the landfill. Now something like this could be composted. You could put this even in your backyard composting. You would need to remove this. And then there are some concerns sometimes to make sure that the dye that they're using on these containers is safe for composting. Now with like cereal boxes are accepted. They can be recycled. They're put in with mixed paper, but not all of them are going to get recycled because it does have this layer of plastic to it. Plus it is a low grade paper. It is chipboard. So we can only accept a certain amount of that material. Shredded paper. If you don't have to shred it, don't shred it. You're lessening the life of that paper. I know it's fun to shred. I mean, you're like, it could be fun, but don't do it if you don't have to do it. And if you do it, Athens Services says, please bag it, because if you just put it in there loose, it's just going to go all over the place. Bag it, we'll grab it off the line, we'll empty it, we'll put it into the paper pile, and we got your back on that. Glass. Okay, not all glass is recyclable. If it is a beverage container or a food container, it came with food, it came with beverage, liquid that you can drink, that's probably going to be recyclable. But if it's like window glass, it's a porcelain mug, it's ceramic, oh, a glass plate. Just because you can put food on it doesn't mean it's recyclable. So when we talk about glass, make sure that it is something that food or beverage came in. Metals. Metals are great. Most metals are going to be recyclable. There are some cheaper scrap metals out there, but metal is wonderful. We can get to that stuff. We have magnets. We have these things called eddy current separators that take things that usually don't have a magnetic pull and give them this odd magnetic pull using rare earth metals. It's so cool. Check out our video online at YouTube. We love metals. If the metal has like a metal pan and it's got like maybe some wood or some plastic on the handle, but it's mostly metal, we'll still take that. But if it's something like a chair where it's got a lot of textiles and plastics and just a little bit of metal, it's probably going to end up in the landfill. And there's a new item out right now where they're putting sleeves on metal, like this can. This is a plastic sleeve that goes from the top to the bottom. Now, our eddy current separator can grab this off of the line, but when it goes to the actual recycling facility, they're expecting about a 5% contamination rate. This here has different types of metal than the actual can, but they're expecting this contamination from this piece to that piece, but they're not expecting this. So what this ends up doing is that this can add anywhere from 20 to 30% contamination on the actual recycling process. This is probably not going to go away anytime soon. So us in the industry and those making these beverage containers need to work together to make a product that can truly hold its value in the recycling system. Aseptic containers, you see them right here. Those are like the milk cartons or the beverage containers for your alternative milks or maybe soup that you get from the grocery store. Those aseptics, they are going to be accepted in our system, but sadly, right now in the current market, there are very few facilities that can actually take these items and get out all the materials. It's such a mixed product. It's got metal, it's got paper, it's got plastic. Some of those does have higher value. It's got this long grain paper fiber that runs through the middle, and they want that. It's valuable, but there's not a lot of places that are actually taking this stuff at the moment. So if you can use reusable, if you can use other products, and you want this item to be recycled, when you go to throw it away, make sure to look for those other alternatives in that packaging. And then we get to plastics. Plastics, we will accept all 1 through 7, but that's to keep it simple, right? And also the market fluctuates. Sometimes there is a market for number 4 plastics. Sometimes there's not a market for it. And when I talk about the numbers, I am talking about the chasing arrow on the bottom of the container and then the number that is inside of it. This chasing arrows does not mean that something is recyclable. It only designates what type of plastic its chemical resin signature is. It does not mean something is recyclable. So when we talk about what plastics have the most value, our first and foremost plastics that have the most value are going to be what I just picked up. They're going to be your HDPE, your number 2 plastics. And I take that back. This one's actually a number 1. Sometimes a lot of these are number 2s. So you got your milk jugs, your detergent containers, things of that nature. Those are highly recyclable. Then we also have number 1 bottles. Number 1 plastic, PET, number 1. Again, this is a number 1. This is a number 1 plastic. Here's another kicker, one of those tips I want to tell you about. This has a sleeve, a plastic sleeve that is not a number 1 plastic, that goes all the way down, and it's so hard to remove. And then this one as well, this plastic goes all the way up the container. Now, could you remove this? Yeah, potentially, but then there's another issue. You need these sleeves on here. Usually, it's a sleeve that just goes around. It's a band. It just goes around the middle. You need these sleeves to stay on because it shows the California redemption value. It shows that you can turn this in for money and get your payback on this item. And if this sleeve wasn't on there, you wouldn't be able to do that. But the problem with these sleeves is that they're covering from top to bottom. And in our facilities where we can separate these materials out, those facilities are called a MRF. I know it's kind of like a funny word, MRF. It's a materials recovery facility. They use optical sorters. We have one of the most high-tech facilities of its kind in the United States, and we use optical sorters. They shoot this light down, they read the chemical signature of this product, and they say, oh, that is a number 1 bottle. They put this air comes up from below and shoots it off, and we capture it. But if they're reading, the optical sorter is reading this, it's saying, oh, that's not a number 1. That's a number, I don't know, a 7, maybe a number 3 polyvinyl chloride, the most toxic of all plastics. I hope it's not that. We can't grab this stuff if we can't read it correctly. So when you are purchasing containers like this, go ahead and purchase the kind that have the sleeve around it and aren't covering the whole entire item. So that's number 1. Also clamshells. That's a new one. Those clamshells that open up and you can get your food in them, your takeout. We are starting to be able to collect and recycle those in Southern California. Now make sure you got to empty out the food. We don't want any of the food or the liquid in there, but those are actually starting to be recycled as well. However, caveat, sustainability person here, if you can use reusables, please do that. Now, number 5 plastic, that's the next valuable plastic, but you need those optical sorters in order to be able to identify it. Because if you're just using human hands and human eyes, they're gonna be like, I don't know if that's a 5, and they're not gonna stop the line and go, hey, is this a number? I need to see if this is a number 5. Oh, it is, okay, toss it. We need optical sorters to be able to identify this. So this is a number 5. This is a yogurt cup. But again, we've got that same issue. We've got paper wrapped around the yogurt cup, and it's going to make it really hard to be able to see this item. So if you have one of these, please take off the liner. Actually, this one might be plastic and really hard to remove. Oh, that's a hard one. Also, this lid here, it looks like it's metal, but it's probably mixed materials with plastic and metal. And it's trash, so toss that as well. Now here's another 5. I got all my goodies here. Here's another number 5 plastic. The lid is 5, great, put that in your recycling. The container is a number 5 plastic, but it's got this cardboard around it, and the optical sorter is not going to be able to read that this is a number 5, so you got to remove that. So this can truly be recycled. Oh, another one. If it's really small, tiny, smaller than the size of your hands, kind of like the 4-inch rule, it stands a chance of not getting recycled because it's too small. The value of that plastic is not as high, but also it can fall through the material recovery facility's line and end up going into what is called the residual pile and might not be recycled. So all of those small items are usually single-use disposables. So utensils, straws, they can fall through the system. So when you can use reusables, always use them. And I forgot to say about the other plastics. We have number 4, which is usually film plastic. It's like your plastic bags. The market for those is very low right now. And if you can use reusable bags, if you can avoid number 4 plastic, if you're trying to go zero waste, fantastic, do so. Number 6 is expanded polystyrene. That's also known as foam. Really hard to collect. Yes, is it recyclable? I mean, everything's recyclable, but that doesn't mean it's economic to do so. And number 7, that's a mixed bag. That could be so many different things, and mixed plastic bales right now don't really have a high value. And it really is. It's just a mixed bag of different types of items. So if you're looking at the most valuables, you've got your number 2s, your number 1 bottles and clamshells, and your number 5s, and definitely keep using those reusables. Organics. What do I mean by organics? Well, organics with an S on the end, because we're not talking about organic certified food. We are talking about plant matter. We're talking about the putrescibles, things that can break down, things that can rot and go back into the earth. The earth is the utmost recycler. She creates no waste. Everything that comes from the earth can go back to the earth. And that's how we like it. So organics, what are those things? That is your plant matter, that's your yard trimmings, that's your grass, that's your food. And if you have Athens services collecting your organics, make sure we also take your food waste. And if you're a commercial account, a business, we definitely can provide that for you. We can take food, we can take dairy, we can take bones, we can take soft shells, not the hard shells, because that's pretty much like taking rocks. We can, I said dairy, we can take eggs, we can take all types of food. If you have any questions, make sure to ask us. We have a list that we can provide you of all the different items. And then there is this other thing that we can take called food soiled paper. It has to be 100% fiber based, which means it doesn't, when you open up, you're like, wow, it looks like it's I'll just use this as an example. It looks like it's paper, but then you open it up and it's got this weird shiny coating on the inside. That shiny coating could be wax, which we don't take because wax is usually plastic. It could be plastic, or it could be what's called bioplastic. Bioplastic, yes, is made from plants. It's usually PLA, polylactic acid, or PHA, which can be marine degradable. But it is made from plants and it looks like plastic, and it is not breaking down in the time necessary in high heat aerobic compost facilities to be able to manage this material. The other issue with bioplastics is that for organic facilities or compost facilities that want to sell to farms that grow organic certified food, we're not legally allowed to take inorganic material. And right now, bioplastics are classified as inorganic material. There's a few other issues, but those are the main ones as to why we do not take bioplastics. Now, I get it. You don't take bioplastics, but Jessica, this one is made out of algae. Nope. But this one's made out of potatoes. Sorry, I can't do it. This one's made out of eucalyptus leaves. Unfortunately, that's really cool, but we can't take it right now if it is classified as a bioplastic. But if it's 100% fiber-based material or wood, like wood utensils, wood stir sticks, 100% fiber-based material, let's look at it. It has to be food soil because we don't want to just take fiber-based material and paper and just shove it into the compost or your organics collection container. It does need to be food soil. It needs to be used for food. It cannot be used for the fiber-based material to like cleaning chemicals and you're cleaning around your house or your kitchen, or you're cleaning up something that has nothing to do with food or liquid, then that stuff needs to go to the landfill container. But if it's just food soil, we can take that. That can be containers, to-go containers. They even have lids for coffee cups. Coffee cups, unfortunately, right now, there's not a great alternative yet that's 100% fiber-based, but I know the industry is working on that. Straws. Just make sure your straw doesn't have bioplastic or plastic inside of it, because some sneaky places are sticking that in there to make it so it doesn't degrade too fast. Plates, napkins, paper bags, egg cartons, all of that stuff, 100% fiber-based, we can take it. Now, there are a few things you're going to see in the no pile over here that you might go, hey, wait, what? Why is that in the no pile? We have the stickers, the labels from the fruits and vegetables. That is one of the hardest things to remove when it goes to the compost pile. Those things need to come off. They're plastic, they're glue. Got to take them off before you toss your food scraps. The other thing that is on here are tea bags. Now, why do you think it is that we do not want to take the tea bags? Anyone? Did you just say that maybe they have plastic in them? Yeah, unfortunately, most of our tea bags out there have plastic in them. It could be in the glue, it could be in the stitching, it could be in the resin. There's plastic. And so if we don't want this material in our groundwater and we don't want it in our soil, we definitely do not want to be composting it. And that brings me to also fiber. Fiber seems like a cool thing. You take your dryer lint and you compost it. Maybe some birds would like to use it as a nest. But unfortunately, the large percentage of our clothing has plastic fibers in it. We have 1.4 million trillion plastic microfibers in the ocean. They're getting there from our products. They're getting there from when we wash our clothes, from when we dry our clothes, and it goes out into the atmosphere and it settles into our groundwater and it washes out to the ocean. We need to make sure that we are not putting any type of this material in our compost because we want to protect the health of our soil and the health of our community. Now the last one, landfill. Yeah, these things, they're going to go to the landfill. And there are a couple of reasons as to why. I mean, first, there's no value in recycling them. A lot of these materials that you see up here have mixed content to them. So like the chip bags, the granola bar wrappers, this thing that looks like the hot dog or the hamburger wrapper, it looks like it's metal on the outside, but when you look on the inside, it's plastic. The chip bags, same thing. They look like plastic on the outside and then they're metal on the inside. Granola bar wrappers are the same way. Condiment packets, all of that has all these mixed materials in it, and they're not going to be able to be separated in order to be recycled. So a good tip is if you crunch it, like you take a chip bag and crunch it, that's going to be mixed material. So that goes to your landfill. Now I do have something up here that's gum, and I'm not just talking about the wrapper. How many of you out there chew gum? Well, few words of warning. Please never, never dispose of your gum out in the environment. Don't spit it out there because our gum has plastic in it. So yes, also don't swallow it. Not good for you. Gloves. Right now we are seeing a lot of surgical gloves. Yes, they are plastic, but they are not going to get recycled. And on top of it, they might have stuff on them that we don't want the people who are recycling our materials to touch. Our cups, those cups that you get from like a coffee shop or a convenience store, they've got paper on the outside and they've got a liner on the inside that is plastic. There's actually probably some plastic on the outside too. But you might say, but Jessica, this one says it's certified compostable. It looks like fiber to me. But remember, if you look on the inside, it's shiny on the inside. That's to keep the liquids from leaking out, but it's still a bioplastic. And then tissues. Tissues look like they might be paper, and I've seen a lot of these in our recycling containers. Tissues, wet wipes, all of that, completely landfill. Not only do they potentially have biosolids on them, they're made out of plastic half the time. Try to rip them. It's like so hard to rip them and you're like, oh, what are all those fibers in there? And then they have chemicals in them. Do not put them in your recycling, but more so, please do not put them down your toilet. That will clog the lines and it creates a very bad mess for our public works department. And then some of the things on the side here is if you have any hazardous waste, if you have any electronic, just say, it takes a battery, it plugs into a wall, it lights up, it has an electronic current flowing through it, it takes a light bulb, all those, consider those electronics and do not put them in your recycling. Don't put them in your landfill either. Take those items to what is called a safe collection center if you're residential, and if you are a business, collect those items, call us at Athens Services and we'll help to locate a place where you can take those. Now, on the light bulb side of things, if you have one of those light bulbs that they used to be like, oh, I have a thought, ding, and it's like the round incandescent light bulb, you can throw that away. That glass is not recyclable, nor is that light bulb hazardous. But any of the others, the LEDs, the CFLs, those you have to collect as electronic waste or hazardous waste, sorry, and make sure they're going to the right place. And just the last thing, we have so much outreach material on our website. Definitely log on to athensservices.com. If you're in the city of LA, go to la.athensservices.com. We have a video on YouTube that will show you what all those mechanics and the bells and the whistles and those amazing things that our materials recovery facility is able to do with all of your recyclables. And if you have any questions, you're like, but Jessica, what about this? Hey, would you do a video on that? I don't know how to recycle this. send us a message. Contact us through social media on Facebook or Instagram at Athens Services, and we're here to help you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful Earth Month, and we're here for you. And this has been really great. Have a good one.